So welcome to Tinks Invest, talk about investing, finance, and professional development. For today's items only, the investment talk today will be Ethereum ticker ETH. So it's my second posting as of today. Respect to recording time of 2 p.m. exactly on the Eastern time. Ethereum currently trading $3,408, down about 4.36% so far. With respect to overall crypto market and the equity market, with respect to equity market, we had a slight surge early this morning, but subsequently we sold back down because of media affectation got picked up around specifically towards the COVID variants news. Seems like the cases are spreading on a domestic perspective and globally in regional side of the world. And on top of the fact that with respect to next week, we have a relatively large catalyst that's happening on basically the 22nd of September and 23rd, which is the Federal Reserve FOMC meeting, which we'll hear a little bit about the quantitative tapering plan or the asset purchasings of the $120 billion that we've been doing on a monthly basis to sustain our economy for the last 1 year and 9 months so far. So we're going to hear more about with respect to Jerome Powell and obviously with respect to Janet Yellen, how they're going to be triangulating with respect to the job numbers and the projections going forward, and how to maneuver through the COVID variants, occurrences that we have on a domestic level, and how would that translate into, the tapering plan going forward, which will have a direct correlations to the equity side of the house, which will subsequently have some anti-correlation effects to the crypto side of the house. However, on top of the fact that with respect to crypto assets, getting further adopted on the domestic perspective and also on the global perspective, we've seen the Feds have been, stepping up a lot, right, with respect to just the crypto bills that Don Byers from the Fed has been initializing, and also with respect to the revisions for the infrastructure bills that we also heard in the, I would say a month ago, and also with respect to Gary Gensler from the SEC, who has been just a bear, if you may, talking negatively towards crypto assets, calling it scam, calling it fraud, and calling it just, negative vocabularies as a whole. So something we have to watch out for. So the sell-off that we're having today, on top of all of that, we also have the triple witching occurrence with the equity side, which subsequently drives some surge early today. So a lot of volatility that we're seeing across the market will subsequently translate into the price level that we're seeing right now. Okay, so just to talk high level on the Ethereum, we are trending on more of a sideways fashion still. We are above the $3,325 level. And with respect to some of the news that I've been collecting so far, I would say there are some pseudo substantive news, but nothing really, something that's really worth mentioning. But I'm just going to go through them just in a chronological order. So one coming from Bazinga about 2 hours ago, talk about Avalanche rally 60% in 7 days, raises $230 million to jumpstart DeFi ecosystem. So another pseudo-related Ethereum news, talk about the surge recently. And then another news talk about from Times Magazine 3 hours ago, talk about Ethereum creator, obviously Vitalik Buterin, named the Times 100 list. And also Coinbase defends lending products, and El Salvador adopts Bitcoin as a legal tender, which is something we've been talking about. It's just another recap of what happened this week. And then news talk about on Market Watch 4 hours ago, talk about Shiba Inu, which is like a copycat of Dogecoin, if you may. Soars over 25% today, makes the Coinbase debut. So something interesting to see, I guess, but nothing really substantive or related directly into Ethereum, obviously. Another one, talk about from Bazinga, Cathie Wood says Ethereum clearly satisfy a huge unmet needs, Ethereum. So with respect to that, we have heard that, basically regurgitation for days now. We have heard this before. It seems like the Bazinga is really trying to, talk about this in multiple different angles. More just repeating itself over and over again, just to hype and basically influence people's feelings in terms of a FOMO effect, if you may, right? So that's pretty much it on the news overall on that front. Next week's definitely going to be a relatively volatile week coming ahead. So let's take a look at some of the other coins before we dive into a technical for Ethereum, which I know some of my friends have been asking me earlier today as I was looking through the comment sections. So with respect to Dogecoin, we are hovering still, down 4.3%. And I think an ideal level would be buying starting at the 20 cents level. So I'll still keep an eye out. So with respect to the technicals, we are at the 40.58 right now. We have not crossed up in a while. So yeah, again, like the 20 cents is definitely a very ideal level to buy at, as we are going to be forming a scoop coming up, and a cup and handle that should subsequently allow for a golden cross to be formed and then further leap up from there on Dogecoin. So Cardano, we are trading on a sideways fashion, try to sustain the level that we at right now. But with the volatility that we should be seeing this weekend and also on top of next week on 22nd, 23rd, I think there's a likelihood that we actually will sell back down, because of the fact that the RSI is still, it's at the 44 level. So, and also we do have a gap that is formed. So technically in the near term, the bottom should technically be $1.87, which is not a bad level, but I would pretty much hold off because we do have a relatively large gap. But technically, the $2 is another flat number that we have to be watching out for, which makes sense. We had that one-time crash that occurred on the 7th, and we crashed down all the way to $2.05 and subsequently reversed back up. So we might see something comparable in the near term, but technically the real support is really the $1.87. The $2 really just again more of a level that's psychologically bought up by investors on obviously the public side. Solana, wow, is still selling off, right? You see that we are basically struggling around the level that we talked about, the $1.44, $1.42, and we are basically struggling at that level. But we know that this is not really a platform that is substantive. We're gonna further leap down, and I think the like of actually going back down to 111 and subsequently to 95, which is below 100. Obviously, we're gonna struggle around there just because of the fact that 100 is a flat number, which is a relatively monumental flat number as well. Then the real level is really the 66. I'll wait until the 67, $66 level for me to buy at. And XRP, again, I think XRP is relatively attractive. $1 is relatively a good level to buy at, but I would wait off, just because of the fact that if we break $1, we have a long way to go down to 88, 78, 69. So I know the dollar number looks small, but it's the volatility will be high on the percentage perspective just based on the fluctuation we've been seeing so far. So going back to Ethereum, we are selling off right now. We had basically canceled out everything that we had in the last couple of days so far, ever since the 13th. So we did just break the 3,475. So we are going to be going to the 3,325 as the next level to leap down, which is a platform that we have formed. So technically, if you buy at anywhere from like the 3,150 to 3,025, like anywhere between is a relatively substantive level because we have consolidated for quite some time. It's from the 7th of August all the way to basically the 31st. So we had like a month of consolidation. We also consolidated a little bit more in the recent time frame as well. So it's like a month and a half of consolidation. So 3,150 is slowly becoming a real bottom in a short-term perspective. And however, RSI is still at the 50.15, and also on top of the fact MACD is indicating a bearish signal right now. We are crossing down. We form a negative curvature at the same time. So likelihood of actually dropping to 3,150 or anywhere below this level would be very, very ideal. And for me, knowing the fact that I do have a relatively sized position, so I would just wait until when we hit below or close to around like the 3,150 for me to first buy at. And ideally looking to buy at 2,750, 2,450 as the whales, will be incentivized to sell once we get indicator from the Feds later and some other news, right? So something we have to be cautious about. So with respect to the cheat sheet, we know that we're still in the anxiety and denial stage. It looks very, prominent at the moment based on how it's showing right now. We are struggling on a sideways fashion. September has never historically been a good month for equity nor crypto, so something we'll be cautious about. And also on top of the fact, it's so weird that we've been seeing just a collections of very positive news recently, right? So just to stay within the sanity and stay within the safety zone of frame of reference, 3,150 would be a good level, right? 2,750, 2,450 would be the ideal level for me to buy at, right? So with respect to corporate adoption, $9,800 in the next 12 months. So technically next year by September, we should demand like north of 3 times of return from here, right? Which is relatively a good gains if you are just a long-term patient investor. So hopefully this is helpful. Really appreciate you for dropping by. And I got a question earlier today, which is a relatively interesting one. Why is my channel called Tings Invest? So Tings is not my name. My name is Maurice. Tings is basically a short term for tingliness. When you are on the verge of greatness, you have that tingly feelings on top of your fingertips. When you have that aha moment. So Tings is just like a short form for that verge of greatness, if you may. So hopefully this is helpful. Really appreciate it. Have a great rest of the Friday. And I look forward to seeing you guys for tomorrow on the weekend. I always post on the weekend. And stay tuned for this come up. Take care. Bye.